Double Back with Kenty Mac.
Hi, welcome to the newest gymnastics podcast, Double Back with Kenty Mac. Each week, I'll watch a meet and discuss it with a friend. This week, please welcome my friend Jackie.
Hey. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me this week.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my first time on a podcast. Super excited.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Jackie and I met as part of the New York City Gym Nerds group, where we've watched meets in bars together back when it was safe to do so.
Yeah.
And we played fantasy gymnastics together for the last 2 or 3 years. Oh, so Jackie founded the GymterPets group. Can you tell us a little bit more about, and you're wearing the t-shirt. Can you tell us a little bit about GymterPets?
So GymterPets was partially started because I was jealous of a lot of my fellow gym nerds who had cute pets. A lot of them were posting them on social media, and I at the time did not have a pet. And I was part of a cat chat of fellow gym nerds who I was more of an honorary member of it. And they were saying, just as a way for me to get out my love of pets, maybe I should join this. And I did it as a joke. I put up a tweet saying, if I created this account, would anyone follow along? And it had one of the most interactions I've ever had. So within minutes, I created the account. And then in 2020, when the Olympics were canceled, I used that as like a segue into entertaining people with like gymnastics and pet memes, and I created the GymterPet Olympics, which was one of my highlights of 2020. I put on a virtual pet Olympics through Twitter. And I put out a schedule of all the days that would have been the actual Olympics. We had various different events, and we had people competing all around the world, including some actual Olympians, which was amazing.
That's awesome. And
yeah, we'll do it again in 2021 when the actual Olympics happen. It was a little less engagement because people were actually watching the Olympics that time, but it was still a lot of fun.
That's great. And how can people follow along with GymterPets?
GymterPets has both a Twitter and an Instagram of the name GymterPets. They're not quite as active at the moment as I was when I was in mostly shut down during the pandemic. But I have been contemplating doing a World Championships version of GymterPets. So, stay tuned. Maybe I'll do that if I have time.
Worlds 2022, maybe.
Oh, that's way too soon.
Well, that's awesome. Good.
Speaking of my pet, she has said hello. This is Ruth Katter Ginsburg for anyone watching on the video.
How long has Ruth been part of your family?
Since right before the election, because I was one of those people that couldn't get through the election without a pet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you run a private fantasy league. Is this our second season of that?
Second season with the is what I like to call the Cat Chat fantasy group, but I've been running the New York City fantasy one as well for 3 seasons now, which is unfortunate. Our first season was 2020, so I somehow got roped into creating multiple groups because I got bored one day.
Well, thank you for doing it. It's really fun. It's brought lots of people together. And even though some of our beloved New York City companions are now in other cities, it's a way we can still connect and stay in touch.
Yeah.
So it's lots of fun.
The fantasy gymnastics has definitely helped me be able to get more into gymnastics as a whole, and it's definitely helped me make new friends, which I never thought would have happened a couple years ago.
Yeah, and of course, with not the main group running for a couple of seasons now, the private fantasy groups have been really helpful for those of us who love to play along and learn about new athletes and new teams. So,
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I ended up starting that second private league was because the original fantasy group wasn't happening, and I knew some people didn't have a league. So I'm like, you know what, I'll just start another one amongst some people in this cat chat. And then I think you didn't have a league, and someone else I knew didn't have a league. So like, join our cat chat. You mean honorary cat appreciations.
That's right. Do you play in the Gymlytics, the new online version?
I have one team on that league. Most of my teams this year have different themes. And I've way too many teams actually this year. But my theme for the Gymlytics League is a coastal themed team. So any state that touches the coast can join my team. I found out this way that New Hampshire has a tiny piece of coast. So half of my beam lineup is from New Hampshire. So thank you, New Hampshire.
There are lots of secret weapons in that New Hampshire team.
Yes, they are. They're also making up a decent amount of my GymterPets fantasy team, because I also have the cat and dog mascot theme team. So a lot
nice.
of LSU, some Georgia, a couple Kentuckys.
Does Missouri count? The
Oh,
Tigers?
for sure. Anything that's
Great.
a cat. Got a lot of Missouri, because LSU is also a tiger. Anything that's a tiger. I thought about adding some Lindenwood gymnasts in there for a little while as well, because they're the Lions.
Mhm.
And there's a Wisconsin team that's a Lion as well, but I haven't added them. I'm totally forgetting which Wisconsin team it is. Sorry, Wisconsin.
Have you seen the Washington meet this year? And have you seen their mascot, the Husky? This cute little dog.
I'm obsessed with their Washington mascot husky. It's like one of my favorite Twitter accounts. He's the cutest. That they're on their fifth incarnation of the dog, but whatever. It's super cute. I love Washington. They're one of my underdog favorites. I watched a little bit of their gymnastics this year.
Did you happen to see Missouri earlier today?
I did. I was a little hard watching it because it's happening at the same time as LIU. So I was trying to stream both at once, and one was like a quad meet, one was a tri meet, and I have too much ADD to deal with both of those. One of them didn't have any commentating, and then the other one had commentating that was talking mostly about wrestling and had no idea what gymnastics was. And so I was screaming at one screen or another at some point today.
It's funny, when I was watching Missouri, I was only watching Missouri, and I thought, well, any commentary would be better than nothing, but maybe that's not true if they're talking about wrestling.
The least annoyed I think I got with the commentating, because I kept muting and unmuting it fairly often, was when I unmuted it for Mara's bars. And if you don't know anything about LIU, go look up Mara's bars. I'm not even attempt to pronounce her last name. It's too Dutch. Sorry, Mara, if you're listening, I love you. But she has amazing bar routine, and so I'm like, I need to give her my full attention. And I put it on. The commentator was talking about a wrestler that was going on like a quad screen on the corner and had nothing to do with the bar routine that was going on the other half of the screen. And they happened to talk about some like twisting, turning wrestling move that exactly synced up with Mara's pirouette. I'm like, that is hilarious. But also start talking about gymnastics, please.
I need to check Twitter. I'm sure that's on there now.
I think I might have been the only one who noticed, because I didn't see anyone else talking about it.
Someone did point out that because NQS starts this week, they're excited to see where Mara is ranked, because I'm sure at this point she's got 6 great bar scores. So that'll be fun to see.
She had a little bit of struggle in the beginning of the year when they were working out some issues with her routine, but she's got back the swing of things, got a string of good routines. So she should jump way up there in the rankings. And we're really hoping she makes it to regionals and, dot, dot, dot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you've been volunteering with the LIU team, and I've seen a lot of the amazing pictures that you've taken. Can you talk a little bit about how you got involved and what you do with LIU?
Well, photography is mostly like a hobby of mine. It was like my minor in college. So it's mostly just like a hobby. Every once in a while, break my camera out, walk around the neighborhood when I'm bored, or take it on vacation traveling. But when Randy reached out to the fellow New York City gym trainer people saying, hey, we'd love somebody to volunteer. We need people to do X, Y, and Z. I volunteered my camera. I'm like, it's not a professional grade camera, but I'm here to help if I can. Love sport, love to do photography, love to combine the two. And it's really been fun to being able to watch the team firsthand kind of like blossom into what they're doing now.
Yeah, I know last year was such a tough last year was such a tough year for so many teams,
Yeah.
especially LIU. It seemed like they were just having a hard time getting off to a strong start. But this year, they're setting records. I think today was their away record, 194 at an away meet, the highest they've ever done. They're looking amazing. So congrats to everyone at LIU. That's really fantastic to see how far they've come in just a season and a half.
It was their second win ever, and I was a little sad I wasn't able to be there for it. But I was really happy I was able to watch at least via the stream. And they've definitely had a lot of ups and downs in terms of preparation. They threw the whole team together during a pandemic with very little in terms of being able to recruit. So they're going places. Do you want to start over with the cat and the not in that shot?
Oh, I think people are going to love the cat in the shot. So tell me how that works when there's home meets, you and some of the other New York City gym nerds who all volunteer, like you're the crew and you're helping out with the social and the scores and all this different stuff. And then when it's away, that's all handled by the host team. Is that how that works?
So for the first few home meets, it was pretty much mostly run by the volunteers. We did most of the camera work for both the streams and obviously me taking photos. There was the very first meet I attempted to do both simultaneously, but then thankfully we got another set of hands on top of doing score running, score online updating, tweeting, Instagram updating, graphics creating. A lot of it is done by us, including we recently were locked out of our original Twitter account, so then we were running things out of Randy's for a little while. And now we've created a new Twitter account. If you're not following them, go take a look.
Great. So everyone go follow LIU Gym Sharks and keep up to date on the newest coastal team in the NCAA.
Newest team period.
Currently
Currently competing because there's going to be more teams created soon, which is super exciting. But currently newest team in the NCAA. So yay.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, speaking of the GymterPet Fantasy League, I've been waiting for two of my athletes' scores to come in to see what my score is going to be like. I've been having some struggles in the league this year. I've lost a couple of competitors. But I was waiting for those Hannah Scharf and those Jordan Child scores. And so it's perfect that we ended up watching UCLA at Arizona State today.
Oh my goodness, Hannah Scharf. I love her. One of the other theme teams I have this year is a quote unquote underrated team. So people that wouldn't necessarily be someone's first draft pick, but people I was going for first. And she was my second draft pick.
Well, I was really excited to see coming in. UCLA's had an up and down season scoring wise. It felt like they need to start really pulling those lineups together. Arizona State narrowly missed nationals last year. And this feels like that could be that season where something magical is going to happen. So coming into the meet, I was just excited to see what are we going to see from each of these teams. I guess we should start with not knowing everything that's happening within UCLA. Mm-hmm. We're sending all of our support and love to the athletes. Like, I want them to be successful, to be happy. I want them to get their concerns addressed. I want them to have a great season. So I think we're here to really support their performances and everything that they can do.
Yeah, it's crazy what they've been going through so publicly at UCLA, and I really feel for that whole team. And I really hope they're now getting some of the support that they clearly needed for a lot longer than they've been getting. And I really don't know how best to say that. Clearly, some change might need to be had, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you can have that midway through the season, but hopefully it will happen as soon as it can.
Yeah, and I think a way to would another change like that be helpful or even more disruptive for them? I just want these athletes to have the most positive season they can moving forward. And then, like you said, hopefully there can be some change so that future seasons don't have to deal with this. Like you said, I do hope things are getting better. I hope they're getting some of the support that they need. It took far too long to get to this point. And then the only other thing that I'll say is Jim Watson needs to shut up talking about how hard this has got to be on the male coach. Stop talking about that, Jim Watson.
Jim Watson has annoyed me for several reasons. Anyone I feel like who idolizes a coach can be asking for it in general, because we don't know what happens behind closed doors in the gym, and all of that crazy stuff that happens, behind closed doors. And on top of it, it's the coaches are doing great things by coaching the girls, giving them pep talks and all of that a coach does. However, they're not the ones competing. So anytime you compare what's going on from the coach's perspective, I feel like you might have it slightly off there.
That's right. It's these athletes who are hurtling themselves down the vault runway and throwing themselves off the uneven bars. They need to have all of the support and confidence and good feelings that they have. So from our little conversation here to the whole team, both teams, we're sending all our love and support. And we're here to cheer you on and celebrate all the great gymnastics that we saw today.
I can sometimes get superstitious when it comes to certain commentators, particularly people, Jim Watson, or John Roethlisberger, sorry. They're the kind of people that I feel like when they're saying someone's doing really well, that's as soon as someone falls off the beam. Today, I think would be an example when he's talking about how Samantha Sakati is high risk, high reward, and she immediately falls off the beam. Obviously, not Jim's fault, but also kind of a rude thing to say about Jim as she's competing. Talk about what she's doing, not what your feelings about it are.
Once again, Jim Watson, shut up.
Yeah, please shush, Jim.
Let Amanda Borden talk. So Arizona, I've actually been to this arena. This is the same arena where a friend of mine used to work at Arizona State. So I have been there. I sort of poked my head in. They play basketball there too. And I saw the arena. I haven't seen a meet there, but it was fun when they showed the little outside view of the arena. I thought, oh, I've been there. It was called something. It had a different sponsor back then.
I'd only ever been to Arizona for about 24 hours once, but I'd love to go. They seem like a great team. They've been one of my underdog favorites for a while. I was absolutely screaming at my computer last year when LSU advanced instead of them.
Yeah, Arizona State and Kentucky came so close to making it last. It was a good argument for there being 10 to go to nationals instead of 8.
I kind of had my eye on Arizona State since Kyra Leonard Baker kind of blew up on the Pac-12 scene a couple years ago, and she became one of my favorites. I was really sad when she didn't do a 5th year because her bars what's special.
So special, yeah. And Hannah Scharf has been someone who I've ended up having, or that I've happily had on fantasy teams for most of her career. She's that stealth, she's there every week, scoring great. She's a Raina Worley. She's she's one of those all 4 looking great every week. So Arizona State started on vault. 3rd up, Emily White went up and stuck her vault. I thought that was one of the big highlights. It just kicked them right into gear with that absolutely flared. She got a 9925 for Yurchenko full. It was great.
I think it was her career high.
Yeah.
That was really good for her. I was really impressed with her freshman year, and I think she's just starting to get back to where she was last year right now, and I'm really happy for her. She's doing great.
Did you have any other highlights in that Arizona State vault rotation?
Gracie Reeves didn't do, I think, to the best of her abilities, and it wasn't a great score, but I think it's really nice seeing her back in the lineup. I think she attempted her 10 out start value again, which maybe why I was a little slow. But she's been one I've kind of always had a sentimental favorite towards. I had her on my team one year.
Yeah, no, that's right. Working those additional 10-0 start values when you're at the level of Arizona State and you're going to be knocking on the door of getting to that second day of regionals, trying to get to nationals. I think having additional start value, the 10-0 start values in your lineup is really important.
Yeah.
Right. She threw that tucked 1.5. This one came in a little bit low and she had to step back, but the more confidence she gets on that, that's going to be terrific.
Yeah.
I was also really happy to see Alex Theodorou, and she does that half on, tuck half. This one, the landing wasn't exactly right. She had a little bit of a scoot back. Her chest was a little bit down, but that's a really pretty vault, and she does it very well. And that's when she gets really consistent with that landing. That's going to be a fun vault to see.
I think she's definitely one of the gymnasts who could be like the face of the team moving forward, and she's definitely got a lot of potential. I think she was. I mean, she's really great all arounder, but she definitely shines most on vault. But yeah, she's done, I think, sporadically well on floor and other events, but vault is her specialty, and I think she got a 10-0 in JOs once, which is how she pinged on my radar before season even started. I was like looking at which JO gymnast had a 10 before, so I can throw them in my drafts, and she, I think, was one of them, if I remember correctly. So I do have her on one of my teams, which has helped my vault.
Dropping some fantasy tips for those players out there. Check out those JO scores. Yeah, similarly, I had also had her high on my freshman list just because of those strong vaults that she had. And like you said, she's fitting right in with this lineup. It's kind of a nice passing of the torch, right? With Hannah Scharf, having her, senior year. She could potentially take a 5th next year. Is that right? Or is this her 5th?
Yeah, anyone who competed last year or was on a team last year, period, they didn't have to compete last year. So if you're on a team last year on the roster, you get to have an eligible 5th year, which not entirely fair to those of the 2020 class who didn't get their 5th year, but I think it's really nice to those who do want the option to have a 5th year. For those gymnasts who had lots of meets canceled because of COVID, or those who, like Stanford, had a lot of gymnasts opt out because they didn't want to risk the COVID risks, that they have the option to have that 5th year, which is nice for them. Makes for some coaches having some difficult lineup choices, but that's their problem. We'll enjoy the risks.
And starting next year, they've got to start juggling those scholarships too. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they juggle all the incoming commits with wanting to keep those stars on for a 5th year.
There's some, I think, schools that are definitely already dealing with that. Schools like Florida and LSU definitely have a lot of 5th years that they have to juggle with their incredible freshmen. So I think more teams are going to start to deal with that.
So what you're saying is we might get 5 years out of Alex Theodorou, which would be fantastic.
That would be great. Good for her.
So then over on bars, it was, sorry, go ahead.
It was only 5 years of Jordan Childs and Brooklyn Moore's going to make me happy.
Oh, but they're not going to qualify, right?
Oh, shoot. They're freshmen now. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. I watch them often enough that I forget that they're still just freshmen.
Sadly. Yeah, I wish we could get 6 years of Jordan Childs and Brooklyn Moore's. Over on bars, this was an unfortunate start to the meet for UCLA. And I think that this is a confluence of a lot of different things. They have some athletes that are coming back from injury right now, as well as everything else that they're dealing with. But I do think that there were some strong highlights. Shay Campbell started the rotation and she looked great. She struggled a little bit with that landing of the double front. It was right on today, totally stuck. I thought she did a fabulous job. She kicked him off with a 9.85.
Yeah, Shay's another star that we'll be glad to have her for quite a few years at UCLA. When she had that really solid routine, I was hopeful that maybe this wasn't gonna be going in the direction that it has in past meets. But then an inevitable falls happened. But at least we had a couple of really good routines. Nora Flatley just saving UCLA one routine at a time. She always phenomenal on bars. I absolutely miss the 1-2 punch of Flatley and Fraser. It was one of my favorite combos back to back. Mars was one of my favorite gymnasts.
Yeah, they could have used Mars in this meet.
Yeah.
It was sad not to have her. But I agree with you. Flatley was the other really outstanding routine. All of her handstands looked absolutely ideal. Sometimes that dismount she doesn't pull the landing in exactly right. It was right on today. It was great.
Yeah. But yeah, the Nora was great, but I don't know what, for some reason, the thing that sticks out in my head though from that bars lineup was sadly Jordan when she came off bars and just had that moment at the chalk bucket where she looked like absolutely about to bawl, and it did not look okay. Having your camera right up close like that is it's not good for anyone's mental state when you're having issues. And I just have always major issues when broadcasts like shove a camera up someone's face when they're not okay, and then they repeatedly show a fall on repeat. It's slow motion. It's one of my biggest pet peeves.
I agree with you. She looked mad, and then she looked really upset. And I thought, I know they have a very short time period before they can remount. And I thought this is a good argument for giving an athlete a little bit more time if they need to compose themselves, because it's not safe to be flying and spinning around these bars if you're not 100% in the game. So I felt very nervous for her. She pulled through. The rest of the routine was great. So she's got the mental fortitude of a giant, I think.
She does. And the fact that they showed her like dancing it off like a couple of minutes later made me happy that she's okay now. That's fine.
Yeah.
She's got that elite mentality where she can bounce back, which isn't always healthy for you, but it's good that she has that ability and that training in her.
Glad she was able to shake it off.
Yeah, literally.
Speaking of falls they didn't need to show, Frida Esparza had to pull out of the lineup because of a fall that they took in warm-up, and they went back and showed that fall, which looked really scary. She sort of peeled off from the low bar and landed right on her back. I think just for precaution, they decided to pull her from the lineup today, but I don't think we needed to see that either.
Did not, no. She looked like she at the very least got the wind knocked out of her, but that could potentially mess up her back or give her a concussion, or I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But you definitely don't need to show someone potentially getting injured. You can just say Frida Esparza fell in the warm-up. She is not competing today. We think she's fine. We wish her the best.
That's right. Amen. The other thing I have to just say about Nora Flatley, to come after a teammate has had a fall and really just get right back on track. I thought she did such a great job under an immense amount of pressure, hit a great routine. She ended with a 9.925. And they said this was 30 straight hits for her on bars. That is a good record.
Yeah.
So the summary for me of rotation one, I actually had the impression that Arizona State was trying a little bit too hard. I thought it looked to me like they were trying to stick a few of those vaults. They did say they got a season high 49.3 on vault. And in a later interview, they talked about how they're really trying to step up their performance and just push it a little bit further each meet. So maybe that's what it was that I was seeing. But I kind of felt like maybe they were trying too hard to stick some of these vaults.
I don't know, maybe they were just really trying a bit harder to beat UCLA because they hadn't beat them in so many years that they thought this is our chance to finally do it, and they're getting a little too overzealous about it. But spoiler alert, I guess it helped.
Yeah, and after rotation one, maybe some of that pressure came off. There mathematically, it looked to be much less of a close contest than it was originally. And Arizona State just relaxed into rotation two. Their first three on uneven bars were 9.875, 9.9, and 9.85. It was hard to pick out a highlight in this rotation for me because they were just all so good.
Yeah. They definitely had so many season and career highs. I think that this was the first meet you're looking into of the year for them. That's entertaining, I guess. That's lucky for you. They've been slowly chugging along there. So yeah, good for them.
And your girl, Gracie Reeves, she did a great job. Her straddle Jaeger is huge. And then she stuck her double layout in that second spot. She looked amazing.
Yeah, I think she's struggled. I think a little bit of injuries, has been in and out of some stuff, but she's loved seeing her back in lineups. She was doing all around for a while, like the last few years, but then she was in and out of some. So good for her.
Yeah, I thought that whole lineup was great. And then UCLA really pulled it back together on the vault. One of the highlights for me was Sakai Wright going up in that first spot. She did her Yurchenko full. It was huge and nearly stuck. It was really an exciting way to get a fresh start in rotation two, I thought.
I loved seeing Brooklyn Moore's back on all three of her current events because she wasn't in last week. Hopefully she's fine. They were just resting her, but was happy to see her back in there.
Yeah, her front pike half looked great. She landed it very upright. It looked like a very safe landing. And then, of course, it was time for Jordan Childs to go out and be that anchor. And she just did so. I thought this was one of her better landings on her cause. Just a tiny little scoot, and she got a 9.9. Looked really superb. And what's the hairstyle?
I think people call it different things. Because I think Peng Peng and Pula have both worn a similar hairstyle, and they called it space buns. I think that's partially because it's similar to the Star Wars character Rey, who has a similar situation. So that's what it reminds me of. I don't know if that's on purpose. I know Jordan likes to watch movies of the fantasy realm, so I want to hope that's what it was an homage to. But yeah.
Well, her space bun looked great.
They look good.
And she nearly nailed that vault. So that was great. So UCLA on vault, 49.325. Arizona State on bars, 49.525. I believe that was also their season high. I believe they set a season high on every event this meet.
Yeah, I think so. Good for them.
So amazing job in the second rotation. Going into rotation three, this is when we learned that it was January 26, 2001, the last time that Arizona State beat UCLA. So 21 years. At this point, I had not heard or seen anything about the Pride meet, but in this rotation break, they did talk about the winter inclusion that the Pac-12 was doing, and they showed the Pac-12 logo with the Pride colors. And then they showed some of the folks standing around in those long sleeve t-shirts that had the Pride colors and talked about the winter inclusion.
Yeah, Pac-12, I think it's a little weird in terms of what they choose to talk about in a pride or quote inclusion meet. Because UCLA started off the whole pride meet thing where they had all these pride flags and they had all this other thing that made it pride-esque, but Pac-12 just refused to acknowledge it on the air. So that was really frustrating. And people I know who have since tried to have pride meets have had to make it more vocal, like this is a pride meet, this is what it's about. I know LIU has been trying very hard to do that with the two pride meets that we had last 2 years. And then I saw as well, Pitt today had an actual pride leotard that just is like the coolest thing ever. So it kind of breaks my heart a little bit that Pac-12, though yes, they did finally mention a quote inclusion meet, they could have gone a little bit further into depth what that meant, what it meant to the people that were supporting it, the gymnasts, the team, and just like a couple of people in the background with a rainbow t-shirt is maybe not enough.
Definitely not enough. Big shout out to Pitt. I agree with you. That leotard is amazing.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see that.
Yeah, last year, LIU, we had on top of having fun like rainbow themed things around the gym, we Randy was able to get a drag queen to come out and do the national anthem, which was amazing. They were such a good singer. Sad they couldn't come out this year, I think, because of scheduling conflict. But we still had like pride t-shirts and rainbow masks and pride flags all around the thing, and then we changed our specific graphics to have the pride flag on them, which was a little bit of effort. But UCLA just said the word inclusion once. Well, I guess it wasn't UCLA, it was Pac-12.
Yeah. So get it together, Pac-12. If 2 of the times that Jim Watson felt like he needed to give more compliments to Chris Waller, they had just talked about the inclusion meet, that would have gone a long way.
Yeah.
So then Arizona State went to Beam. I have to say, one of the highlights for me again in the second spot was your gymnast of the meet, Gracie Reeves. She did such a great job, just really solid on her series. Her splits looked really good, stuck that dismount. I just feel like when you get a hit like that in the second spot, it just sets up the rest of the rotation to be so strong. She scored a 9.875, and it only went up from there. There were 3 9.9s in that rotation, though.
There was a lot of 9.9, so I give you a 9.9, Gracie. I wrote down in my notebook 9.9 career high ? Maybe I wanted to give it to her.
Yeah, that was just they were on a roll at that point. 3 of the athletes got 9.9s. Emily White, Sarah Clark, Hannah Scharf at the last 3 of the rotation, just really beautiful, impeccable beam routines. It looked like they weren't nervous. They were just out there showing off what they could do. It's great.
Yeah. I like to joke around with certain people. I know this is absolutely the silliest thing ever and complete superstition. That sometimes with my fantasy teams, when I take a gymnast off of a lineup, it encourages them to do better. So they do really well. And you're welcome, Hannah Scharf. I took you out of my beam lineup, so you helped do well. I know in reality I had nothing to do with that. I just like, things to entertain me throughout the season.
That's right.
It makes me feel better when I miss a score.
I took Jordan off the bars, then she got a 10, then I put her back in. You see how the cycle goes.
Yeah.
So over with Flora and UCLA, their first competitor. I don't know if this was her first time doing floor since she's transferred to UCLA, but it was Katie McNamara. And the commentator said that her nickname was Katie Mac. And I thought, well, that's interesting. From Kenty Mac to Katie Mac. I thought she had a really fun routine with 80s music. There was a little Take Me On from Aha in there. It was a fun routine.
Yeah, Katie's a really good performer, I think, which is something that I think you need to do well if you're going to want to get into the UCLA lineup because they're all about the performance and the this is Hollywood, we need to put on a show situation. And I think Katie definitely has fit into that aspect of the floor lineup. This is, I think, her second week in the lineup. I think she's in last week, but
Yeah, it was a really fun routine. I mean, and then I think the end of this lineup is just such a fun, hit parade. Who were your highlights in the UCLA floor?
I have a few. I think any gymnast who can look down the barrel of a camera and just like look right into it, make eye contact with the camera, and just like look directly into your soul, like that's so much confidence that just improves the performance so much. And major shout out to Brooklyn Morris, who just looked right into my soul and gave me all the drama that I wanted. So like this is why she has the Longines Prize for elegance. Longines Prize for drama should also be as well, because
Yeah.
I love it. It was great. She finally, I think, was able to perform up to her potential. I hate it when people say career high for freshmen. They've only been competing a few weeks, but it is her highest score yet, which made me happy. Jordan, obviously, and Emma Malabuyo also know how to perform their hearts out, and I love all of them for that. This isn't my favorite Jordan Childs floor routine that we've seen her do in her career, but obviously it's phenomenal. I am a bit of a nerd when it comes to like film and TV stuff, so I loved her Wonder Woman and her Spider-Man routines the last few years. I was really hoping she would do another like movie or comic book hero themed routine, but she seems to be enjoying it, so I enjoy it.
Yeah, superhero. Let's bring on the
Yes.
superheroes for Jordan Childs.
So many superheroes have made me so happy.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I know they've been playing around with the passes for Brooklyn Morris to really find what worked for her. This week, it was the front double twist punch front, which was totally right on, and then ended with the Rudy. I thought Jordan Childs, it's only just about the landing control, and she showed excellent landing control on all those passes today. Maybe a little bit of extra juice on that last one, which that's good. We'll take a little extra juice on the last pass.
Better too much than too little.
And then I agree, Emma Malabuyo, she has such a fun, joyful style, and her extension and her toe point is so pretty. I mean, she looked like she was working hard to show that really clear control on every landing, and she looked great. Brooklyn Moores, like you said, ended with the 9.9. Emma Malabuyo also got a 9.9, and Jordan Childs a 9.975.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Those freshmen are doing all right.
The freshmen are doing okay. So I thought this was interesting at this point in the meet. Arizona State increased their lead every single rotation. Sometimes when you go to the beam and the opposite team is on the floor, you might lose a few tenths, but Arizona State, the train just kept going. They were on such a roll this meet. So then that took us to the final rotation. There had been lineup changes throughout the night for UCLA. They moved Nora Flatley from the anchor position to the leadoff. And, you couldn't ask for a better leadoff than Nora Flatley. So precise. The jumps are so pretty. This one was very, very secure. She does a front aerial back handspring layout. No movement, really, really solid. I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, UCLA, if you're a fan of them, they changed the lineups at the last possible second. So it's a whiplash kind of moment, figuring out who's in the lineups. I was surprised when I first saw that Sakti wasn't in the beam lineup, but she was in the floor lineup. Then all of a sudden she's in both, and Flatley as well was in and out of a few lineups. I'm like, guys, can we just have one meet to figure stuff out? But yeah, at this point I've kind of come to realize that just expect the unexpected with UCLA in terms of lineups, and enjoy what you get.
That's right. Jordan Childs, they've been playing with a few different acro series. They went back to the side aerial layout step out this week, and she nailed it. It was so good. And then she finished with that double pike. I mean, so much difficulty, and she performed it all so well.
One of my dream things to happen in the next few years is for Jordan to, on purpose or on accident, do the Wolf Kino again and get a 10 on beam. So Jordan, please just make it happen. I know
That would
it's
be
a little hard,
amazing.
but please. Watching her do that was that classics or nationals? It was nationals. That was just like the funniest thing ever. But I don't think she could ever repeat that.
And then I thought, maybe I've been sleeping on Kendall Poston as a beam worker. She was so secure. Her dance was fun. Everything she did was right on. She did the back handspring layout. It might have been a little bit off, but she finessed it, as Kathy Johnson Clark would say, and then stuck that round off 1.5. She came up after there had been a fall. So this was an important try and get back on track sort of routine. And she did a great job and scored a 9.9. So huge shout out to Kendall Poston. What a nice beam set.
Yeah, she's definitely one who's, when she's on, she's really, really on. But she's also she has been one in and out of their lineups. So not everyone pays close attention to her. So when she does well, and it makes me happy.
And then Emma Malabuyo, she wrapped up such a strong all-around performance. She finished with a 39.475 and a 9.9 on beam. And I think it's fun that she does the Carlton on her floor exercise and then she brings it over to the beam.
I think someone so young knows what the Carlton is. It's just like, that's hilarious. Good for you, kid. Sorry, you're
So
not a kid
much
anymore.
fun.
You're a grown adult.
It's really fun to see.
I love it. I feel like there's quite a few gymnasts doing variations of the Carlton on both like beam and floor this year. I don't know why it's become so popular again, but I love it.
Yeah, it's really, really fun.
The silliest dance. Did TikTok make it famous? I don't know. I'm not on TikTok.
Maybe that's it. Maybe the
I feel like
Carlton's
I'm an
on
old
TikTok.
lady. Maybe. He was in Dancing with the Stars a couple years ago. Maybe it's that. Probably not. Young people don't watch Dancing with the Stars.
I think they do watch it when Suni's on, right?
Yes. Yeah, and when like specific people they like, I think they'll watch it on like YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jojo Siwa.
She was robbed of that win. I'm not over it. Jojo or Suni should have won. End of story. Sorry.
Jackie has said.
Podcast.
Jackie has decided. So then victory lap, Arizona State on the floor. Such a great job. Alex Theodoru again in the 4th spot. I thought she was a big highlight. They mentioned she's been going back and forth between the 3-pass routine and the 2-pass routine. She did the 2 today, which was the tucked full in. And then the 1.5 to front layout was her second pass. She got a 9.9, which was a career high for the sophomore.
Alex is a freshman, actually.
Is she? That's right. So no career high for you, sorry. Not till you're a sophomore.
There has to be a better word for a gymnast when they get a quote career high, but they're still a freshman. Like there has to be a better word for it that we can coin here.
That's right. You scored a little bit higher than last week, which was your first routine.
Career best. Nope, still the word career.
Right.
NCAA career, because they've had a career beforehand, but like JO is like a reboot. Like there has to be something better. I'll think of it and get back to you.
Another note that I made during her routine, because just like you, I keep a list of the outstanding L10s that we see at L10 Nationals and the various different competitions. And some of them get to college and don't immediately live up to that same potential. She's one who really has lived up to her potential.
Yeah.
You know, she showed this great potential and she's already delivering here in the middle of her first season.
Yeah, I before this season really wasn't one of the people who like kept a list of JO level 10s, but like so many people, I was really bored last year in various different times of the pandemic. I'm like, why not start making a list of freshmen 6 months in advance? I was looking at all of the JO National winners and whatnot. I got really into spreadsheets in the last 2 years. But yeah, she's definitely one who's lived up to her potential, which has made me happy. There's been a few others. Katie Johnson, LSU, all of the Missouri freshmen, like love them. I don't know if you saw Missouri. You were watching Missouri, so you saw them beat
Oh my gosh.
that try me. I was
Oh,
screaming happy for them.
Celestine and Jocelyn Moore, they are amazing. Those back-to-back floors to wrap up the end of the meet, that was just incredible. Defeating LSU. I mean,
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, LSU, they did rest some of their like key people in various events, but at the same time, Missouri did go all out. So like they deserved that win. But it made me, I'm a huge underdog fan, so seeing that win just made me really happy.
we might also give a shout out to the Michigan State freshmen while we're shouting out the amazing freshmen, because they're having
Yes.
quite a season. They won their session at Big Fives over Minnesota and Nebraska. I mean,
Minnesota did not have a good day, and MSU had a great one. MSU's been having a phenomenal season. And I remember when he was Ella Douglas had her senior season, she was doing so well and they were doing really well up until everything happened. And she was saying how she really wants this team to finally make it to regionals together. And this could be the year that they finally all make it to regionals. I don't think they've ever made it to regionals as a team, or it's been years and years and years, because I remember Ella Douglas talking about that. And I was just mentioning with someone else earlier today that it's really sad that poor Ella Douglas can't be competing this year with this team, but she would finally make it. And I really miss her gymnastics.
maybe they'll invite her to regionals to be there with the team when they go
Let
for
her
the first time.
exhibition.
Yeah.
Let her exhibition on the floor, please.
Let her go out and do the floor. Yeah.
Just dance through. It's fine.
I got to see Ella compete in person at Rutgers one time. She's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Rutgers was actually my first gymnastics meet ever in 2020. I was a 4-year fan for quite a while until roughly around 2012 Olympics. And then I actually didn't pay too close attention to any college, actually didn't pay any attention to any college sports, weirdly, until Kyla Ross came on the scene. And then I dove headfirst into college gymnastics. So I never really paid attention to any college sports. I stupidly lived in LA for 4 years and never went to a UCLA meet.
Wow.
Yeah, that was dumb. I know. I was there during like the years of Samantha Patrick. So could have seen that.
Oh, wow. That bag full.
Oh, wow. But my first ever meet that I did go to was when Minnesota was at Rutgers for that, was it quad meet, tri meet, and Lexi Bradner got her first 10. So people are saying I was really good luck that I was there and she got her first 10. And then flash forward like a month or two later, my second ever gymnastics meet I ever went to was I drove up to Penn State with Dr. Sam and DF, and we went to the Florida Penn State meet, and Trinity got her first 10 on floor, and oh my God, who else got the 10? It was Rachel got a 10 on beam. And so obviously everyone's thinking I'm super good luck getting all these 10s. So hopefully one day my luck will kick back in and Mara will get a 10 on bars one day.
There you go. Yeah. Very good. I love that. I love that. Yeah. That's funny. Well, welcome to I can't believe how new you are to NCAA when you're running all these fantasy leagues.
Yeah, I dove headfirst into fantasy. I became real into it. My first fantasy team was very sad. I knew nothing about it. most of my team was all freshmen I had randomly drafted because I didn't know most of them. I was like throwing names in there that looked cool. Um, so that was a mess. But then afterwards, I realized how to do it. Normally requires research. And yeah.
Yeah, same. My first year was I didn't have nearly enough athletes to go up on the various different events. And I had just picked people that I had heard of. And so I had like Ivana Hong on my team, but not enough vaulters. So
My first year doing fantasy was Mars's freshman year, and I elected into having Mars and Nora both on my team, which I was cute having best friends on the team together.
nice.
But most of that team ended up being freshmen, which a couple of them was I just lucked out having good freshmen with Mars and Nora, and then I also ended up having Spanish Shane here, but then some other freshmen that didn't see the light of day until like much later on. So I unfortunately had to trade them off, but they're doing great now a couple of years later, so good for them.
Yeah. I got Brenna Dowell my very first year playing fantasy, and that was her freshman year. So then that became a thing. I wanted Brenna every year, She opted out that
Yeah,
one year, so I had to wait and then try and get her the next year.
that was me and Mars. I had Mars on at least one team every year. Sadly, I held on to her for a little longer than I should have this year. So when they officially announced she had a broken foot, I'm like, fine, I guess I'll trade her off.
No, they're still expecting she might be back, or are we still not sure?
I've heard of rumors she could possibly be back, but I wouldn't hold my breath. But
Yeah.
I would gladly welcome her back, and she's not on my team anymore. But I love watching her, and I'm just heartbroken that's how her career ended, both with an injury and with all that's going on the team.
Yeah.
And I just so wish I could have seen her get a 10. She
She deserves
deserves it.
much more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll get another bars routine by the end of the season. We'll
one can
see.
hope.
Healing vibes to Mars's foot.
I don't know if you've seen video of her. She's performing as a singer now on her off time now that she doesn't compete. She's not competing or training. She's a really good singing voice if you've
She
never
has a
heard her.
great voice. Yeah.
I saw some video she posted on Instagram of her like singing at a bar or somewhere. Like, you go, girl, get that.
Yeah.
So wishing her all the best in her singing career. If we can't watch her do gymnastics, I will watch her sing.
We'll watch her sing. That's right. So wrapping up, final floor routine of the night, Hannah Scharf. Couldn't have asked for a better way to wrap it up. First of all, she did a great routine. And then they showed the whole team circled around her and sang happy birthday to her. Congrats, Hannah. Happy birthday on your 21st birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, I feel like 21's normally a fun age to turn for an American, but she's not American, so I don't know how Canadians feel about turning 21. But that's a great way to spend your birthday, having one of the best meets of your whole life. So good for you, Hannah. And maybe everyone should have their birthday more often on competition day. Maybe it helps.
And the last time that Arizona State beat UCLA is the year that Hannah was born.
That is just hilarious.
Congrats, Arizona State, and the amazing coaches who've done such a fabulous job there. So Jay and Jess Santos are in their 6th season at Arizona State. And they've done just such a great job turning this program around. It, of course, in the days of yore, it was one of the top programs, national championships, individual national champions. But there were years in between where this was a very sort of middle of the pack program. And they've really done such a beautiful job. I think this program has great potential to be in it on that second day of regionals, fighting for one of those spots at nationals. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. They were in the morning session of Pac-12s, and now they're gunning for that second night of regionals. And hoping to make it on the nationals. And I just love watching their upward trajectory. And their recruiting is definitely been helping out. They've been getting some really good people in there. Coaches have been handling them well. So go Arizona, go.
Go Arizona. Yeah. So Hannah said in her interview at the end, we're not done yet. And I thought that was a great positive message for the rest of this season. And I'm excited to see where they go and how they do at Pac-12s. And like you said, in the postseason. So for UCLA, they need some of their injured athletes back. They need to gain some consistency on especially bars. What else do you think UCLA needs to really have a strong finish to the season this year?
I think it's really hard to, I don't know, pinpoint it, because I don't know if a lot of it is having to do with a lot of the stuff they've been going on behind the scenes, because that can affect your mentality. A lot of gymnastics is a mental sport, because if you're not on mentally, it's hard to be on physically. And I can't say if that's why all of these injuries and all these falls have been happening, but it doesn't help. So I think if they're able to sort out some of their team issues, that maybe they'll be able to snap back and live up to their potential, because they have the potential to be one of the best teams in the country right now, but they're having these issues, and it's sad on multiple levels. So hopefully they get there. But they've always had the potential to do great on floor, and they're doing better there. Like, they were having issues like staying in bounds or staying on their feet, and that, I think, it just I don't know, more practice can always help. You just need to be able to trust the training you're getting, but at the same time, if they're not able to trust the coaching that they're getting, that's, I think, a lot of their issues. So
Right. They need to find some peace and get rid of some of the chaos, because that's going to just help them relax and feel confident and feel taken care of and be able to compete their best.
yeah.
So I think that's what we really hope for them. We want them to all be able to do their best and not be overcome with all of this stuff that they're having to deal with.
Yeah, I hope they all know we're sending them lots of mental hugs, or whatever they would feel appropriate. We all support them, and however they feel they can best get back to it. If they need to step away, or if they need more support, we're here for it.
Yeah, we want only the best for all of them. So if you had to pick one standout from each team in this meet, who would you pick?
Is Hannah Sharf a cop out? She's always great on that team. So although Hannah Sharf, Arizona State, probably. She did great all around. And for UCLA, want to say Moores. She didn't do great on team, but just seeing her back in the lineup was great for me. But Emma Malabuyo, another one. They've all had their ups and downs, but like, they all shine on different ones. So I feel like tonight, Emma showed certain sparklets of why she was such a great juniorly, and why she did so well, and she's bringing a lot of that performance quality back, and a lot of the skills. She was, I feel like, written off as not one of the best freshmen in that group, because there's such a highly touted freshman class. Once she was an Olympic alternate, everyone was looking at Brooklyn and Jordan and all these other people, but she's the one who's shining. Not everyone for her teams is great, but she is definitely like, hey, I'm here, look at me. And she's definitely helped them quite a bit. And so she's definitely one of the little shiny little nuggets for me.
Absolutely. She did such a great job tonight. I think I'll also give a shout out to Emily White from Arizona State. She had such an outstanding all-around competition today. 3 scores of 9.9 plus and a 39.6. What a fantastic performance. She was just that rock for Arizona State. One athlete can't pull the whole team along. You really need a full roster of athletes, and Emily White's just one of those real key performers for Arizona State. And then for UCLA, I'll also give a shout out to Nora Flatley. I thought on her 3 events, she just showed a real maturity. She was really a rock for them. She would go up after a missed routine and pull everything back on track. She seems very calm and level. And I think that's what the team needs right now. I hope they find some more of that Nora Flatley good energy. And yeah, she did a great job for them tonight.
Yeah, Nora is another one of those who had a great junior league career, and then she had some ups and downs and a lot of injuries since then. But now that she's finally being able to do mostly healthy routines, she did have a little bit of a mess up on floor, and I thought she might be out entirely this week. But seeing her back on 3 events at least, seeing her do well, it makes me really happy. She's such a great performer. When she does do floor, it's often one of my favorites. So her bars and beam, when she's on, she's one of the top gymnasts. I love it.
I think didn't she have a little ankle strain or some cramps or something last week? I think
she landed, had a bad landing on I think her final
on her triple
pass
okay.
on floor, and she like limped off. It didn't look great. I think that was last week.
So hopefully she'll be back soon. She's just taking a little time to get her hoof right. Good. Well, anything else that happened in the meet that you wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about?
Seeing Sarah Taubman, though she didn't do well this week, just anytime she makes the lineup makes me happy. Partially because, like I said, I love an underdog. She doesn't make the lineup often. She's also from same county I'm from in California, so love a good hometown girl. But I remember last year when she finally made her first routine and she stuck it, I just was like bawling for her. So anytime she makes a lineup, I'm like, I know this means somebody's probably injured and other people are like rested, but like, let these walk-ons have their moments and just like, hey, you did well, you're making lineups at a great school, do your best.
Absolutely. She seemed to have a really good energy too. And there was a little bit of a delay before she could go. And she was just dancing and keeping really loose. And you could tell the team was really rallying behind her and supporting her. So I agree. That was a nice moment. And, most of the routine was great.
When I do photography at LIU, one of my favorite moments to capture photography wise is what like a coach or a teammate will do to someone when they're waiting to start or waiting for a score to like get them distracted or give them a pep talk. These those little candid moments are often my favorite, just to get them in the right mentality. So when you have that right mindset, it can definitely help.
Very nice. Good. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Would you consider being a guest again in the future?
Of course.
Awesome. How can people reach out to you if they also want to talk about the amazing tumbling from Jordan Childs or the level-headed competition fire of Hannah Sharf?
I have way too many social media feeds, but you can find me on Twitter at either Jackie_Green or GymterPets. Or if you want to follow on my photography, I haven't been updating my photography account too much, but I've been meaning to do a giant LIU dump of photos on my Instagram. There we go. Jackie G Photography. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
Excellent. And
Jackie
then
G Photography or GymterPets also on Instagram. Not updated often though.
And then remind us how people can follow the LIU program as well.
LIU's new Twitter handle, which we just recently restarted, is the LIU Sharks Gym. Follow them along as we, finish out our second season ever of gymnastics, which is exciting. Their final home meet is on March 6th against UNC. And each one of their home meets, have a theme to them. And the last home meet, since we don't have any seniors, don't have a senior night, we are doing a mental health awareness meet.
How great. I love that. Good,
Yeah,
good.
we've
So
had-
everyone go support the Gym Sharks and Mental Health Awareness Week on March 6th. Excellent. Well, and the listeners, we would love to hear from you too. What would you like to hear us discuss next? You can reach out to me on Twitter at KentyMac or email kentymac@gmail.com. Please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. And also check out some of these conversations over on YouTube at KentyMac Gymnastics. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week. Stay safe and enjoy gymnastics.
Bye.
So subscribe on the YouTube channel right here and see you soon.
Double back with Kenty Mac.